everyone. Thank you, and welcome to episode 92, weekly update for February 9th, 2024. Not as jam-packed as I had hoped, but we've got lots of great things to review today, with more always coming. You want to catch me live? I'm in Nevada in May, the Latino Tax Fest the end of June. I will be in Danbury at the New York, Connecticut Association of Tax Professionals in July. And I will also be at the CSEA Super Seminar June 11th and 12th in Arizona. So speaking on AI issues there. So the schedule is starting to fill. If your association needs someone interesting, well, and you can't find the interesting person, I'm, of course, available. Tax season support program still has some seats. Maybe the last call for this week and next week. If you'd like to join us, 3 meetings a week, 3 opportunities to get your questions answered. I'm on all 3 calls. Ellie Joan joins me on most Fridays. Rita Ryan joins me Wednesday night for International. It's a fabulous program. Just ask me and I'll tell you. I thought I'd mention IRS Nationwide Tax Forum dates again. Last year, Baltimore, the hotel filled up. San Diego, the event filled up very quickly. I've noticed they moved San Diego to later in the year, actually to be the last conference. So if you're going to go, think about it now, book now, make sure you aren't disappointed. So the IRS has not gone back to update any of the usual things. The last couple of years, we had that COVID operations page that has not been updated since December. So and I haven't seen the weekly number of returns released yet, but it's still early. And I think that they'll start showing those weekly summaries with this year versus last year. Hopefully we'll have that soon, because I like that as a tool. And once we have it, I will start, if it's available, I will start posting it. So this particular slide, again, I'm just going to compare on the IRS processing page where they were last week, where they are this week. Processing within 21 days. 1040 returns, they're still processing January submissions. Amended submissions, though, they've moved from July of 23 returns to August of 23 returns. They are still a full 6 months behind processing those returns. With respect to business returns, I didn't see much movement other than down Form 1041. They are now working on January 2024 submissions as opposed to the December 23 submissions. No other movement there. With respect to the other forms section, most things are not moving along, which is interesting. I feel like we're getting a little bit behind. W-7s and 8802s have been pretty much caught up. But I did notice that identity theft made a big jump from March of 22 to May of 22 cases. Now, I want you to fathom this for a minute. 21 to 22 months in identity theft. I think they just hurried up so that they could move the line further, It's some god-awful number now. I think it's 640 days that cases are on average in identity theft. And man, if Form 14039, the reports are 2 years back, I can only imagine. 2848s, they claim, are being processed within 4 days. It depends, I think, when you hit and how you submit and who gets the processing. But 2848s and 8821s are about as current as they can possibly be. Last page that the IRS has posted, which we're just going to drop now, was their inventory. 600,000 returns and error correction out of 686,000 Forms 1040 to process. Nearly 1 million 1040X returns. And of course, the 941X at over 1 million returns, kind of stalemated. So as an update, the Tax Relief for American Workers program, Tax Relief for American Families and Workers Act, didn't advance in the Senate. It advanced so quickly in the Congress, in the House, that we thought this was going to be rubber stamped. They were trying not to mark it up. We thought they were just going to pay. They didn't even attach to get it through the House, you'll recall. some New York and California congressmen said, look, we need a salt change. We need more salt deduction. And the understanding was that we'll give you a separate vote on that. Well, that vote hasn't happened yet either, although it was brought to the floor in the House. It's been introduced. So what did the Senate do this week? They worked on Ukraine. So the Senate Republicans have wanted to amend the legislation a bit because they're still not happy with some things we've talked about in the past weeks. But they want to do a markup in the Senate Finance Committee, which means they're going to tie this thing up in committee after Ron Wyden cut a deal before it even went to a vote. So they want to do it using an expedited process that would allow them to do amendments from the floor. I don't know. Ron Wyden and some of his key allies are reluctant, though, about doing this because there's a compromise in place. They actually don't want to upset it. They want to get the bill passed and get the bill through. In looking at what went on this week, it looks like most of the time was spent on aid for the Ukraine, and there's been a border policy fight. We tried to impeach the Secretary of Homeland Security, and that didn't go through, but Washington has otherwise been busy this week. So the Senate leaves today for a 2-week recess. We're not going to see this bill at best 3 weeks. Now, when they return, if you look at the schedule, it's going to be the end of the month. It's going to be 25th or so. And sadly, they need to focus on passing another, either the actual budget or another continuing resolution to keep the government open. So I think this bill is dead or nearly dead, simply due to inaction. They're not going to get to it. They haven't gotten to it. So what do? There's the possibility that many of our clients are going to benefit from the child tax credit. I know practitioners that are sitting on their hands with these returns. Well, let's see what you get. Some of us that have tax software that some forms aren't released, we're sitting on things too. But what's going to go on is Congress. If Congress enacts the bipartisan tax bill, will they or won't they? Now, Commissioner Werfel has urged taxpayers not to wait, go out and file. H&R Block and Intuit were also at the same hearing, and they've said, look, people should file, right? We'll help develop software, we'll help people amend. The law seems to suggest that the IRS has to use its authority to push out any additional refunds. Unclear how well that would work. The reality, though, is that the fate of the bill is pending and it remains unpredictable. Now, my opinion, whether the IRS is going to get the automatic adjustments of any retroactive changes to the tax law correct or not, clients are going to call, what's going on? Where's my money? I got too much. I got too little. These things that never change. So I want to tell you why we're going to take powers of attorney from everyone again this year. Now, for a lot of clients, we already have them. For the clients who we don't or they're expiring, we'll take another one. Many clients are affected by the bipartisan tax package, whether it passes or not. The law requires the IRS to automatically and quickly, there's a time limit in there, adjust refunds to comply with the new law. The problem, as I see it, is that people are still going to call. I didn't get my 9th stimulus, whatever the internet is going to call it, whatever TikTok is going to call it. I didn't get enough of my 9th stimulus. And sadly, why did I get a 9th check? What's going on here? Why did I get more money? All of these are going to require us to talk to them on the phone and maybe do some research. It'll probably mean recalculating tax returns when the taxpayer disagrees with us, to say, well, here's the worksheet, right? Plug it in. I don't want to do worksheets by hand, especially this additional child tax credit. It looks like some of the calculations you had to do during COVID. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that in a worksheet. All right. So that's what we're doing. No comments, which I find very interesting today. All right. This is not a law, but file this under the, in case my clients ask me about it, in case my business clients ask me about it. A new proposed law, the Automatic IRA Act. Act of 2024. House Ways and Means Committee ranking member Richard Neal, for a Democrat from Massachusetts, introduced this bill, and it will require many businesses to sponsor a workplace retirement savings plan. It affects companies with more than, not 10 or more, but more than 10 employees, and this would start in 2026. I actually didn't give you in the handouts. There is a pretty lengthy description of what's going to do, how this is going to phase in. Let me see if I have that right here or not. Yeah, sorry about this, folks. Remember when I used to be like better at this? Bear with me just a moment, folks. All right, we just stuck a few other things in there. I'm sorry. So there's a complete copy of the automatic IRA bill. I just stuck that in there for you. Again, very interesting in how it phases in and some of the requirements. Not something we're going to do or going to worry about 2 years out if it passes. I haven't seen any traction on it yet. Neil, this is coming from Neil, feels that enough people don't contribute to their retirement. We already have 2 existing credits. There's a 3-year credit of $500 a year, IRA tax credit if they adopt an automatic IRA. So he's thinking this is going to cost employers little or nothing, and he would like to see a widespread adoption. Hello, Shelley and Savannah. Okay. IRS revised the 1099 FAQ form again. I have to tell you, I went through it. There could be an hour of material here if we went back to the beginning. It seems like almost every one of these things has at least some revision or update or addition. I gave you a copy, multi-page announcement, if you remember. FAQs now have some limited authority, so the IRS is saving them and indexing them. So I have a nice little handout for you on the updated 1099K. Mostly it's clarifications from my reading of it, what to do if you have a duplicate 1099K, if there's sale of personal items included in the 1099K, and sadly, if there's a wrong 1099K, one that has payments that are gifts, not gifts. Sorry, gifts. And how the IRS would like you to handle them beyond the usual contact the payer and tell them it's wrong. What else do we need to do? All right. So back in Congress, back in November, the IRS delayed, this is more 1099K, the IRS delayed the requirement for 1099Ks to be decreased to a $600 threshold. For the 2024 filing season, the requirement remains 20,200 transactions. Looking forward to 2025, the number is scheduled to drop to $5,000 in business worth of business transactions, and you'll be issued a 1099-K. Now, Commissioner Werfel has been summoned to the House Ways and Means Committee to discuss the issue yet again. This time, they're asking him about his choice to delay. They're saying, you shouldn't have done that, right? We should be where we're supposed to be with the rules. He's testifying to a panel of committee members next week. Now, one thing that I really have to find that slide and pop it up. I have that slide from an old, a couple years ago, TICTA study, where the IRS automated under reporter unit, the CP2000 folks, actually only work 15% of the cases they identify. So there's an argument here that says you want more data and more storage to give us more stuff to not work. And there's an argument here both ways. But right now, this is still remains to be seen, remains to see what they do. The IRS has granted relief to several counties in West Virginia due to storms: Boone, Calhoun, Clay, Harrison, and Kanawha County. Yeah, Cheryl reminds us that Massachusetts has had that $600 1099-K requirement for a long time. That's been $600, I think, since the beginning. So the most important thing I'm going to mention to you today, there's a bad Ethan scam out there, and sadly, the emails are getting much better. So IRS and Security Summit partners have this alert out, and it's so bad, it's so important that they actually have a series of webinars next week that I'll give you the registration information in a moment. It's a scam email that impersonates your software vendor, and they're trying to get a hold of your EFIN. What are they going to do with your EFIN? Well, if they have your EFIN and your address and enough information, they're going to attempt to use your EFIN to file tax returns. Not something we want. I've been a victim in the past of having my EFIN stolen, and the IRS disconnected it. So I got a new one very quickly because they knew that it was fraud, but still was not a pleasant experience. So the scammers post as a software provider. They request the EFIN. The letter says this is required verification for you to transmit tax returns. So they're attempting to steal client data and your identity and file fraudulent returns. So the IRS is going to have a series of 5 special webinars next week. Now, I think I put in the handouts, I put a copy of that letter. Yeah, the third item down, 2024 scam email targeting tax pros. It's pretty well, I don't know that's how well worded it is, but they're getting better. It includes a US-based area code for faxing the documents that they're stealing from you. Provides instructions step by step. They must have ChatGPT, because if you look at that letter, it has instructions step by step. You don't know how to get your EFIN letter? Here's how you go. Log in, use id.me, go into your website, click here, download this letter, fax it to me. Some of the variations are using different fax numbers for different vendors. Must be competing gangs looking to steal your information. There's warning signs, that bad English, inconsistencies in the email. In one case, there's a German footer in the email. I don't know. So I don't know. The presentation slides should be the first item in there. Majid 2924 weekly update should be the first thing. No worries. Yeah, Nicole isn't on today. All right, so the registration links are in the resources handout, but next week, pretty much every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there is a program available. I gave you the links in the handout so you can register for one of these classes. They're not offering CE for it. I don't know how good or bad it will be. They have an outside speaker coming in to talk about cyber fraud and some of these issues. So again, should you take it? I don't know. I'm going to have somebody here in the office take it and take notes for us. And hopefully we'll have something better to report next week with what's going on with this. All right. So believe it or not, that's all I have for you this week. I do apologize. I would have liked to have spent some time in the 1099K, but I ran out of time this week. So we'll be back next week with a much larger, supersized presentation. And if you have any questions or anything in the meantime, give us a call. Everybody have a great weekend. I'm sure you're working. Stay safe.